I'm just kidding. Can you hear me? I was just joking, trying to keep things light. Let me mute this.
I'm just kidding. Can you hear me?
Oh, well, I got something else coming up here. 1 second. Oh, boy. How is everyone? I hope you're well. Good to see everyone climbing into the room here. I appreciate that. Can everyone hear me okay? Can you hear me? Sorry, my hat's dusty. So it's good to see everybody this beautiful Friday. Let me make sure that I've got microphone going. Can everyone hear me okay? Very noisy computer. I apologize. So I'm going to be playing some videos today and going to be reviewing some things, but we have a lot to cover. I hope you don't mind. I hope you don't mind. So good to see everybody. I'll say hello to some folks. Fana Everything, Jamie Wood, Christian Josek, Lou Mercado. Good to see the moderators here. Curtis Lee, Sue La Montaña, Eyes Open in California, loud and clear. Thank you very much. Horace Douglas, Shane Mendizabal. Hello, bro. Back to you. Joseph Zamet, Candor. A lot of new names here. Nia Schreiber, Bradley Brooks, Steve Shetman. Boy, almost all new names, with the exception of the tried, true, and faithful. Tracy DeForce Skywalker, Awakened One. Good to see you. Nancy Wilson, the Master Troy, Master Tech Road Service. Theodora, good to see Theodora. Critical Thinker, April, good to see you. Let me see, boy, it's moving fairly quickly. Already have 250 in the room. Wow. It must be because it's early and everybody can attend. So I tried to make this today here at, I tried to make it actually originally for noon, but it didn't work out quite that well for me. So as we allow people to come in here into the room, I wanted to cover a bunch of areas because there is a lot happening, to say the least. First of all, if all of you haven't felt it, there have been some pretty large shifts. And as crazy as it sounds, is that you can wake up in the morning and know that something has changed. There is a universal shift that I believe takes place, and that universal shift is felt. It's like 99% of everything is exactly the same, but that 1% is completely altered, and it's palpable. So I wish Melia could have joined me, but she has some errands to run. She's here. She's just going to be leaving. So, but we will, I wanted to give you an update. We are, when she gets back and I'm finished this, we're going to be recording. It'll be a video that'll be uploaded to the Red Letter Disciples channel. And we're going to be covering Isaiah 61. So just so you know, Isaiah 61. And if you don't know what Isaiah 61 is, that is the passage from Isaiah that Yeshua quoted when he was in the temple. But we're going to be covering the whole thing because there's something that I think may not be new to some of you, but to some it might be quite a revelation and help you understand what your purpose is at this point in time and juncture in this world that we live in. So let me give you all a little bit of an update on a few things before, as we let people flow into the channel here. The conference setup is going well. We almost have a lock on a location. I've got a few. We're trying to make this so it's not just so thought intensive that we will also have some breaks and be able to have some communion time for us to be able to gather together and also have a little bit of fun. So we may have some horseback riding, something like that. So I thought that would be fun, that all of you could get on horses if you would like. We have many guest speakers that I've been speaking to. One of them I spoke to and asked. I'm not sure whether he'll be able to make it, but Joseph Lumpkin, the author of the Books of Enoch book and The Watchers and many other books that you probably saw on the show the other day. Also, Santos, who was on the show a couple of weeks back. Santos is in the country now. We've spoken about him coming and joining the conference and doing some speaking as well. I'm also speaking to a number of other people that I think would be helpful, because this is essentially what I'd like to really call it is kind of an end of days conference. An end of days meaning end of the days as we know them, and what to expect, and really preparation to what you need to do within yourself to prepare, both spiritually but also physically. So what can you expect? And myself and Melia are doing some things that are really, really important that we think are going to be super critical for folks that we will be able to discuss probably by then. I can't promise just yet that we'll be able to talk about it just then, but it is going to require quite extensive preparation and will require a tremendous amount of our time. But I think it's very important, and this comes with the shift of things that we've seen. So, Kink Wee, good to be you, Brother Derek. May this find you well. Thank you very much. Just Lava T Love, The Legend 27, Cajun Queens Tarot. Good to see you. I think you've changed your name, Cajun Queens Tarot. Stephen Powell and Sarah Suzanne. Good to see all of you here. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about a bunch of different things, because what I see taking place is lots of shifts coming from different areas, both politically, socially. We're seeing a collapse of some systems that are going to become very relevant to all of us fairly soon. Now, what I mean by that is we have things taking place from a governmental standpoint. We have things taking place politically. We have things taking place socially. We have things taking place economically. We have things taking place cosmologically. We have things taking place that are not necessarily directly cosmological, but they are weather related, obviously, here. If you haven't seen Mr. MB333's recent video about this vortex area over Sedona, I suggest you go there and watch that, because there is not just this vortex or this portal that was captured on radar, but also something going through it. Now, that storm was a couple nights ago. And during that storm, right outside this house here, where we're at, here in the Phoenix area, we had a lightning bolt strike right outside the house. And I mean, it was very, very close. It was extremely loud, and it was very large. It was in the middle of the night. It flashed and shook the house all at the same time. I thought it probably blew up a house. It sounded that big. It literally sounded like a truck drove through the bottom of the house. But thankfully it didn't. But on the same day, we did have our little puppy, if you recall, who died. So it was a sad day for us, because he was a sweet little puppy, but he had a heart defect that we weren't aware of, and ultimately his little heart ended up failing. So, and that was on Melia's birthday. So for those of you that did not know, it was Melia's birthday on the 28th. You can wish her a happy birthday here. She was devastated because she loved that little guy. We both did, but she was very, very attached to him. So I appreciate all of your well wishes and condolences for the puppy. But you know, sometimes it's easier for us to feel for animals than it is for people, because people just don't reflect the kind of unconditional love that these dogs and cats and other animals demonstrate, that we wish that we could demonstrate on a daily basis. But unfortunately, in these flesh suits that we have, it's kind of hard, and it requires work, as many of you are learning. So we're going to talk about some other things. Cosmologically, we're going to talk about these fast radio bursts, these signals, and I'm going to be playing the fast radio bursts for you, because as somebody from the technological background that I am, I can tell you that these fast radio bursts are most certainly created. They're not happenstance. They're not the sound of a planet hitting a planet. They're not the sound of a neutron star building. It is, and I'm going to show you what I mean by that, but it is very much a signal. Now, what that signal says, good to see you, Scrub. You're late, Scrub. Kimber Kiss, good to see you here as well. I can tell you that it's a signal, and it's a repeating signal. So it definitely harkens to the movie Contact. So as soft disclosure comes in movies from the past to let us know what we're about to experience in the future. I think that we'll probably learn that there's a lot more to these radio bursts. And so we're going to be playing those. We're also going to talk about the economic situation because we're headed to a collapse of monumental proportions. Don't listen to what anybody tells you on the news. It is quite serious, and I'm going to get into a little bit of that. I'm also going to be talking to you about what is taking place in amongst this community. People call it truthers or people seeking truth. But it's quite disturbing, and I'm sure that any of you that have been following many channels for quite some time, and you have your favorites, some of your favorite channels probably are either changing or there's something that is rubbing you the wrong way. There's no question that that a separation seems to have taken place. Those that are in the spirit, those that are paying attention to the spiritual component of things, are continuing and trying to maintain that path, and others that find it too difficult. So the seeds being sown on the rocky soil, the seeds being sown on improper soil. The soil being you. Where's your spirit? Where's your heart? How are these things being sown into you? What are you doing with them? How are you reacting to them? And what are you doing to fill yourself every single day that allows you to get from one day to the next? Because I can tell you on our end, it hasn't since over the past 2 years, I haven't seen a more contentious time, at least in my surroundings. The attacks are incredible. We've had family emergencies, the dog dying, everything is going on. And all of these things have cost us dearly on our end. Now, Melia and I don't talk about or complain about what goes on. We don't broadcast, oh, something happens. I mean, I told you the puppy died, but we're not here to tell you how bad things are or how difficult things are, because we battle these things. And the last thing that I want to do is bring that to you. You have your own battles. We simply try to come together and have these conversations, and I can discuss and Melia can discuss what we're doing to get through these things on our own. From a spiritual standpoint, and where we see them being reflected within the scriptures, the things that we've talked about, the things that I spoke of, almost 2 years ago about what is coming, we're seeing take place today. And with that said, is that when I've always said that the more serious things get, the calmer I become. So if you've seen my demeanor change and I've become more calm, that's because things are getting worse. So you won't see me jumping on the chair and screaming from the mountaintops. You'll just see me continuing to speak very, very methodically about the things that I've continued to speak about. So the title of this is The Coming Collapse of the United States, Galactic Messages and the Future of this Channel. The reason why I'm talking about the coming collapse of the United States is because it is inevitable. I don't care what anybody thinks, what they think. Anybody that is out there in the truther community and they're trying to convince you that somehow voting is going to make a difference, this is the first stage and probably the first indicator of somebody that has thrown themselves back into the matrix, somebody that is focused on who's going to be president, anybody that says that they're in the truth, but is going to try to encourage you to vote for somebody like that's going to make a difference, has not come to terms, nor did they ever believe, if they ever said they did they believe any of the things that they spoke of? Because anyone that has been investigating the truth as long as myself and other people have and been involved in the background of the things that are taking place, I don't come from a place where I wasn't involved, where I wasn't privy to the things taking place, both in the technological field, in the economic field, in the political field. There are people, many people, that come from these high-level places of government that are exposing exactly what is going on. The Epstein death, as we've said, or disappearance, or suicided, or whatever you think, regardless, the vast majority of people know that smells, that is corruption. We are seeing the visible corruption come to light. Now, that doesn't mean that somebody is out there draining the swamp. You can't necessarily drain a swamp that you're part of. It doesn't function that way. You can only try to kill the others in the swamp that are with you so you can be the sole survivor, or at least those that support you. So anyone that is encouraging you to vote is solely either unaware or they have become part of the cabal again. And I would suggest the latter, that I believe, because I've watched it take place, I know it takes place, that people get recruited back into this. They get recruited and they get encouraged through financial incentives, if that's why they're incentivized. They get encouraged because they have an ego and they like to be recognized by other people that they see as being more powerful than they are. It can become quite disturbing. So anyone that is encouraging you and trying to give you some hope for the current either economic structure or political structure of this country, and for the most part, the whole globe, if they're trying to convince you that somehow that it is repairable and that it will change, they don't have the first clue, not even the first understanding, the most basic understanding of what this system is. Now I'm going to explain to you something about the people that we've been speaking about quite often. The Talmudists, as I call them. If you want to be able to visualize and understand what has taken place over the past 2,000 to 3,000 years, it's quite simple. A very isolated group of people have an agenda to amass and accumulate power, accumulate patents, accumulate banks, accumulate all of the power structures, all of the things that people, all of mankind on the earth need, and they become the filter. And while they do that, they will appear very small and insignificant. Very small and insignificant. They will pretend that they are small and that they're unimportant, or how could such a small group of people have such massive influence? Well, that amassing of power, the hiding that we're talking about, is about accumulating that power so when they crown a Messiah, they will pick a Messiah to now expose that they own and run everything, and then that person rules with a rod of iron. So that is what's taking place. And when you understand that strategy, all of the other things that I'm talking about, including cosmologically, make a lot more sense, because these folks are also in the know about what is going on. Considering that they own everything, they're very aware of what is happening cosmologically. Excuse me, let me get some water here. So, yes, total control. And I'm not right now. I'm not paying too close attention to the chat. So if you can save questions for later on, and then I'll let you know, and you can put them in all caps. So if you want to just save that until later on when I call for some questions. But first, I want to review with you. Good to see Naughty here. I know you were looking at me when you said that, Derek. Naughty Beaver said. Good to see you, Naughty. I appreciate you. And so Naughty sees things from a different angle. Doesn't mean that he's not seeing the same things. He is. I'm paying attention to very specific elements right now because that's where I'm led to. And what we're going to be seeing here, I'm going to expose a little bit of what's taking place by playing this video. Now, if you haven't seen them, this will probably be a little odd. If you think the Epstein case is odd, the Epstein case actually doesn't show you and demonstrate to you the corruption that is taking place and red pilling you quite as much as this video, because this is the Overstock CEO, Patrick Byrne. Now, this guy, just to give you an idea, Patrick Byrne is considered a very nice guy. Everybody that knows him, he's very genuinely sweet. He's a very well-educated guy. He's a hard worker that has built that company. He's built it up to be quite well, and he's been pushing for cryptocurrency and things like that. However, my only concern about somebody like Patrick Byrne is his involvement with CFR, Council on Foreign Relations. Now, if you're not aware of what CFR is, that is essentially think of it as a United States version of the cabal. So the think tank, Council on Foreign Relations, is just a portion. It's just a cosmetically something. Oh, well, we're the Council on Foreign Relations. We help form these relationships with other countries, but really behind the scenes, Council on Foreign Relations is part of the cabal and a major portion of it. So I'm going to play this video here because Patrick Byrne from Overstock.com is on Fox News. Now you're going to see the confusion, even from the reporter interviewing him. And I'll pause as we go through to ask some questions and allow you to, even have your comments. Yeah, keyword Naughty Beaver says think tank. Exactly. Good to see Siri here with Tish. Good to see my sister is with Siri Global there. So good to see Tish. Love you guys. And so what I'm going to be playing here, this is the CEO that is coming on. Now think about why he is doing this. This is a guy that's worth $1 billion. He has plenty of money, but he is terrified. Now I can tell you that people that have money don't necessarily get scared, because in this world you can buy yourself out of almost every major situation. So when you are scared, when the person like that is scared, I can promise you that it's because he's seeing more and he knows more about what he's talking. And the only reason he is speaking is a last-ditch attempt to save his own hide, because this is going to get very real, folks. The corruption is going to be exposed at all levels, and it's intentional. So let's start, and let me play this here, make sure that you guys can hear it okay. Hold on, let me stop this share very quickly, 1 second. Redo it one more time. Doesn't seem to want to play. I got to share the computer audio so you can hear. And here we go.
Said in a story exclusive tonight is Patrick Byrne, the now former CEO of Overstock.com. Patrick, thank you very much for being with us tonight to talk about your story.
It's an honor to be on. There was some confusion wrapped up in that lead you just heard, folks, okay, but we'll unscramble it.
All right, we'll unscramble it to be sure. So, first of all, I know that you obviously you left your company today. It's a company that you built through your own, sweat and grit over all of those years. Very successful business. Your thoughts quickly about the company?
Company's in a great position. We have two sides to it. We have the retail business. We also have a network of blockchain companies that I think can change the world.
I'm going to forward this just a little bit because he's bloviating about his blockchain stuff. So,
President Trump, tell me how did all of the country, you say that you got tangled up in the deep state investigation into President Trump. Tell me how did all of this start?
Let me give you the bottom line up front. So listen, I'm a hippie. I have nothing to do with the feds. I'm a flag waving hippie. Twice in my life,
he says he's a flag-waving hippie, has nothing to do with the feds, but twice in his life he got the opportunity to help them out. So some flag-waving hippie.
I had the honor of helping them. A friend of mine named Brian Williams was murdered 17 years ago. I helped them bring the murder to justice, and I helped them fight Wall Street about 12 years ago. I was kind of a one-man Occupy Wall Street in 05, 06. The Fed showed up, and it was my honor to help them take down a couple hundred people on Wall Street. So that's that. Let me jump to the bottom line. And this I've learned is the quickest way to explain it. In 2015, 2016, they got back in touch with me for the third time. And it was, I was given some fishy orders. And I carried them out thinking in 2015, 2016, thinking I was conducting law enforcement. Let me emphasize, don't say the FBI. The FBI is barely involved in this.
He says the FBI is barely involved in this. And he goes on to name a bunch of folks within the FBI, but he talks about the people upstairs, and he speaks about the men in black. So you can assume, or safely assume, that the men in black would be the CIA, and you can assume that the FBI is great. Now, he keeps trying to talk and say that the FBI is great, they're wonderful people, but yet at the same time, these are the people that seem to have set him up that he's talking about. So he's trying to stay in good graces and say good things about them, all at the same time while tearing them down.
All the top. The men in black, as I called them, showed up and asked for this third favor. Well, anyway, I'm not going to go into the details right now, but I didn't know who sent the orders, but I did them. They seemed fishy last summer watching television. And here's the punchline. Here's the punchline, people. Last summer watching television and some congressional hearings, I figured out where those orders came from. I gave him a guy named Peter Strzok and Bill Freestaff, Carlin, McCabe, Comey. That was who sent the orders.
Well, you're naming a bunch of FBI people there.
Well, the Peter Strzok, and it has been confirmed to me that my instructions came from Peter Strzok, that the people who carried me the orders were coming taking it on behalf. That's been confirmed.
So you had helped the government a couple of times. They reached out to you. What did they ask you to do?
I don't want to go into the nitty-gritty right now. The nitty-gritty, I can tell you the main event, and I feel terrible.
Pay attention to the face of the reporter. It's quite comical, actually. The more he talks, the more her face scrunches. It's hysterical to watch.
I've been watching for 3 years, and our country's coming apart, and people are killing each other. And I finally went to see Buffett. And Buffett's kind of my rabbi, I call him. And and he said, Patrick, you have to come forward. And I said, it's going to make some feds furious at me. Their heads are going to explode. And he said, you let feds do their job. You're a citizen. You got your job. You're coming to the public. Here's what it is. This was all political espionage conducted against Hillary Clinton, Rubio, Cruz, and Trump.
Okay, I'm going to stop there. Political espionage against Hillary Clinton, Rubio, Ted Cruz, and Donald Trump. So right away, the mere fact that, and he'll tell you right here, this isn't conjecture. He said, I know it happened. I was in the room. I was part of it. So first, let's just pause for 1 second and recognize that this is the CEO of a major tech company that has a lot to lose, including the entire company being destroyed. So he steps down to try to isolate or insulate the company from what he's talking about. You really can't. But he's talking about this, that he was absolutely involved. So when you begin to identify who he's talking about and who is behind it, you can always identify strategy. Just like I always say, you want to know who Christ is, you want to know who the enemy is, you want to know who the Father is, you want to know who the God of this world is. Pay attention to the attributes, how they act, their fruits. Well, the fruits of the people that have been driving everything, order out of chaos, the fruits and how they operate is they are always, and I mean always, on both sides of any conflict. So if the conflict has 10 different people in it, they are supporting all 10 people. This is how they always win. They make sure that they're involved in everybody and basically manipulating everything, and may the best man win. And whoever the best man is, whoever's the guy that comes out on the other side of this still standing, he's our boy too. That's how this functions. So let's continue from here.
This is not a theory of mine, some political theory. I was in the room when it happened, in a way. I mean, not in a way. I was part of it. I didn't know. I knew I had some of the pieces. I thought I had the pieces of something much bigger. Last summer, as stuff bubbled into the news, thanks to good journalists such as yourself, I started realizing I had these very important missing pieces. I actually started trying to help then, but I had to wait until there was a return to rule of law in our country. And I've lived in places where
Return to rule of law?
And that took waiting until Bill Barr got installed. And then I don't know the guy, I never shaken his hand or anything, but Only then did I trust things enough, and I went to the Department of Justice and
you
started
told them what you
explaining
knew.
what I know.
You know, and it's my understanding that you know, I should just point this out because some people might be listening and saying, you know, well, how credible is this? And you know, we did some asking around, and you know, we have basically had the indications that you know that there's every reason to believe that your story is.
She's saying that he's credible. She's asked around. Even she's having a difficult time talking to him. Now, he was speaking to people over the course of a few days and a couple news stations, but primarily Fox. And now he's gone off the radar. So he's vanished, just to let you know. He's vanished and nobody's really talking. He has a website and he will talk about that here. But it's important for you to watch this because it gets progressively crazier. So stay tuned.
Indeed, credible. So,
I'm not in the convincing business. I'm in the business
I hear you, and obviously, but let me go back to the basics because this is what everybody's saying at home. This is what everyone's saying at home. What did they tell you to do? What did they ask you to do, Patrick?
There was, well, some of it involved this young lady, Maria Butina, who came here. So some of it involved her.
Okay.
Some of it involves setting up.
Okay. Let me pause this 1 second. This lady that he's talking to right now, that he's talking about. Let me go back to this. Maria, I'm probably going to mispronounce her name. Maria Butina. She is considered a Russian spy. If any of you have ever watched a documentary called The Family, you'll see that she is one of the centerpieces of that documentary and discussion. She seemed to be a gun rights advocate, but she was essentially posing like that she was working for Russia, yet didn't really bring any Russian elements into it. The FBI and everybody was very, very aware of her interactions with him. They knew when she got right off a plane. They knew when she was here. They were explaining that to him. So continue to listen to this story because I'm telling you right now, this is the kind of stuff that you only see in TV shows, but yet now you're seeing it play out right before your very eyes. This is going to get a lot crazier. So pay attention to where this goes over the next 6 months because it's going to get nuts.
Some of it involved her.
Okay.
Some of it involves setting up Hillary Clinton for what looked like law enforcement was actually setting her up to be blackmailed. I helped them set up Hillary Clinton to be blackmailed.
He helped them set up Hillary Clinton to be blackmailed. Pay attention.
What was the nature of the blackmail?
Can't go into it. And so I'm sure there's a bunch of people in Washington who are going to rip me apart. And I've actually been warned. I was warned last October from a friendly person, Patrick, if you come forward, this entire town of Washington is going to destroy you. It's going to turn you into dust.
And, you know, I give you a lot of credit because I know that you said that you did some soul searching over the summer and you know, talked to good friends and you mentioned one of them a moment ago. What was the nature of your relationship with Maria Butina? Did she reach out to you or did you reach out to her? And how involved were you? Did you have an affair with her for 3 years or what was the nature of your relationship?
Have you seen the video? I bet you've played it where candidate Trump is at a conference and this young girl stands up and asks her a question.
Sure.
If you go and look up that conference, which was a 2015 conference in Las Vegas, I'm a small L libertarian, a small R Republican. I don't even identify as a Republican. But I get asked to speak at sort of freedom-oriented conferences like that, and I did. And I was at that conference, and after I spoke, she actually came up to me and talked about guns.
Any true libertarian would never work for the feds, ever.
Well, and some gun rights thing in Florida, and the first time I brushed her off, I'm not into guns. I'm not. Everybody should have one, but I'm not into them. I don't fetishize them or anything like Republicans, but I often do. But then she came up the next day and said, "Listen, I'm really here. Look, I'm really here. I've been sent from Russia to make contact with you. And there's some people in Russia who want to talk to you. They know about you and your relationship with Milton Friedman. Believe it or not, there are people like this in Russia. There are liberals." Anyway, she had this whole story. I don't want to get into it here. I'll put it up on a website called Deep Capture, which is where I used to write to the world. But I'll go into all the, I don't want to go into the where and the doll.
Deepcapture.com. deepcapture.com is his website. He's also posted some articles that give a little bit more detail about this. So I would say I will employ all of you to go read those articles and then email me if you find something that you see as being out of place or odd.
Touch her stuff. We had an intellectual relationship. I was given a green light to meet her again. She turned that into a physical relationship. I don't mean to, not that I'm unwitting, or unwell, but so we dated for about 6 months. I was trying to yenter her in to some senior foreign policy thinkers. Because of some things I used to do involving law enforcement and taking down Wall Street, I used to have a very low-level security clearance. And when you get that, you sign a piece of paper that says when a gal comes up to you from Russia and says, listen, I've been sent here to make contact with you, and we want to take you to Moscow and want you to speak on Bitcoin and speak on liberalism at the central bank, and then we want other people. You have to report that. I reported that, and so that to my clearance.
So I see a comment here that says, CH says he's a lying joke. You know what? Everything he said has been confirmed by other people. So this isn't a lie. This guy's not coming out to lie to you. He's coming out to protect his own hide. This is the only opportunity he has to survive this ordeal, hoping that his appearance and making this known might actually save him. He may be right.
Clearance authority, and which is kind of I talked about once every 3 years or something like that happened. And before I know it, the men in black are back in my life, and I was trying to encourage her to have a relationship, and she wanted to be a back channel for peace. And I could have opened some doors, but I didn't want to do that until I had some green light. And after a couple months, anyway, I was given the green light. That turned romantic. I was bothered. I'll tell you something I'll tell you some really deep stuff. I was 2/3 judging it as an opportunity for something good, something to move the ball of peace down the field a bit. 1/3 that it was a risk. As those, I know she was dating or living with some Republican bigwigs and stuff. So my deal, I just said, I'm a 56-year-old bachelor. I said, you just, every 6 weeks or so, when you want to see someplace, give me a call and we'll meet there. But I was trying to yenter her in and maybe something peaceful could happen. But I had sort of a third, maybe 2/3 I was positive, 1/3 this is quite a risk. And especially over those, from July of 2015 to March of 2016, she clearly was swanking around more and more in big shot Republican circles, including people like Don Jr. I was telling her that the men in black about all those meetings before she had them. They knew about her the day she landed. They knew about every one of these meetings she had. They knew that at one point she was going off to have a meeting with Don Jr. I don't know. And listen, I didn't vote for Trump. I'm not a never Trumper. I have this. He won.
Most intuitive comment I've seen so far. The serpent is eating its own tail. Very perceptive. That's exactly what's happening.
Fair and square, and that's.
So do you think that she was set up by the men in black to approach people in the Trump administration? Is that a possibility?
100%. They knew that she was trying to approach, and her instructions were to approach. She had to build a contact with anyone in the Hillary campaign, Rubio, Cruz, or Trump. And they knew that because she told me, and I let them know. They let it all happen. I could have told you in December of 2015, I had a suspicion forming in my mind. It was really quite strange because she had initially checked off. She doesn't like, she's Democrat. She's much more of a Republican or much more of a small L liberal. She's a Milton Friedman fan. I'm a Milton Friedman guy. So once she had checked off having met somebody in Clinton's circle, I don't know who, and she was telling me all this, she was just going to focus on Cruz, Rubio, and Trump. At that point, the interest in the United States government in doing anything about this went to zero. It became like this, even to the point I was telling them things like, look, she's telling me that in a matter of weeks, she's going to be at some conference of conservatives, and Donald Trump is going to be taken down and out the back door of his hotel and be taken to meet her and this and that. What do you want me to do? Can I let me take her off for a trip and whisk her away to the Bahamas?
Yeah.
Or what do you want? And they said, no, we're going to let it all happen. 100%.
So do you
100%.
believe
They knew
that
about-
do you believe that she was working for them, for these
none
men
of
in
that.
suits in the United States, or that she was working for the
No.
Russian government, or some combination?
No, I'm not going into that. I'm not going into that. It's not, she wasn't working for the men in suits here. Listen, here's the other main event. It's horrible to even say the initials FBI involved in this. It wasn't the FBI. The FBI got hijacked from the top. It's the top. It's
Well,
entirely
you talked
the top.
about Comey. You talked about.
Funny, he talks about it's not the FBI. The FBI got hijacked from the top. Well, who do you think the FBI works for, you Nimrod? Seriously, I mean, people get so caught up in patriotism or what they think that they're doing right, they can't see the forest for the trees because the trees are in the way. Where's the forest? It's amazing, but you can see the how asleep people can be, and he's only recognized that he was involved in something quite large. That's why he's terrified. He's scared. This guy is scared. I can tell you right now, people that have met him are recognizing that this man is terrified. Keep paying attention. It gets weirder.
Brennan, Clapper. So you're talking about the CIA?
I'm talking about, I've said there's 3 officials whose names were used with me, X, Y, and Z. I'm not going to say on your show. The feds all have this. I'm sorry, the legitimate feds all have this as of April. There were 3 names used at the 3 senior officials.
Keep in mind, he's defining feds and legitimate feds. So he's saying that there's some feds that aren't legitimate feds, but yet they're feds. So this is where things are getting confusing. Now, I understand that people out there, what point is he trying to make? That's exactly the point. He can't even make his point because he's trying so desperately to save himself from in one circle and at the same time turn coat on another portion of the circle. He is so naive, he doesn't recognize it's all the same group of people.
Right. They were behind all of this. And the FBI was out of it. The FBI...
Oh, but go ahead and vote, folks. Go ahead and pay attention to your government. Go ahead and listen to the political leaders that are out there. Go ahead and listen to them repeat the same crap over and over and over. Go ahead and watch Republicans, Democrats, Independents, and all of them act and do exactly the same thing. They all work for the same people. They all work for the banks. They all work for the same cabal that runs the entire system. They are intentionally collapsing this. This stuff doesn't happen without the intent of it happening behind it. So now you would ask yourself, why would they expose themselves? Well, that's why I said the comment earlier about the snake eating its own tail. This is how they do things. They create the chaos ultimately so they can then install the order that they have already prescribed for the chaos that they've created. It's just how it functions. And this is how you know that we're coming close.
They delivered the message, and let me tell and then there was another period where then they told me to break up with her. I was stage 4 or stuff. They came back, and this time they specifically said, we need you to conduct a rekindle your romantic relationship, and the orders are coming from X, Y, and Z. And they felt horrible. I want to be clear, these are men and women of honor, and I think those are illegal orders. And they made very clear to me, you do not have to take these, you do not have to help. I think they didn't want me to, but they felt terrible.
So when you say all the way up, are you talking, what do you mean? The White House, the CIA?
I think,
or you're talking about
names.
entities that were separate from these? Like when you say it wasn't the FBI, but you say it was Peter Strzok, are you sort of carving him out as being part of a separate operation, separate from the FBI?
No. I'm just, forget Strzok for a moment. The X, Y, and Z are actual human beings whose names you know, who were in the Obama administration. Guys like Strzok and stuff are the errand boys. They're the clerks who sent the messages for some federal agents.
Is it John Brennan? Is it James Clapper? Is it Comey?
General Barr has that information, and okay. I think they're already, I'm sure, furious. I've way overstepped the lines.
All right, I understand, and I don't want you to.
They'll reveal it to you.
Okay, I'm asking questions because that's my job, and you can answer them to whatever extent you feel comfortable, and I understand that. But when you said that you realized last summer that it was Peter Strzok that had contacted you, and you've talked about having discussions about Maria Butina. What you said, did something make you uncomfortable that he asked you to do, and is that why you sort of said, I'm out?
No, it didn't work that way.
Okay.
I will write up an explanation of all of this, and people can read it, so it's clear. But It was, what was making me uncomfortable was two things. That I was, I had originally said, hey, this is 2/3 an opportunity and something. She's very well connected in Russia. Let me introduce her to some people in our foreign policy think tank establishment, and would that be okay? 1/3, like she wanted to talk about John Stuart Mill and Erasmus and the Greeks. I mean, she's a real intellectual. But I had this concern about the risk that there was some mischief afoot, and she was here doing what. Well, as those first 6 months wore on, that risk profile shifted, and she stopped talking so much about John Stuart Mill and John Rawls and Milton Friedman, and she started talking about all these Republican bigwigs she's swanking around with. I could have told you, I'm looking for a prop, I could have told you in December of 2015, I was forming this thought, it's starting to seem what they're doing, is now that they know she's here just swimming around with Republicans, it's starting to seem that what they're doing is letting this can-o scandal develop on the Republicans, and someday they're going to pick it up and shake it, crack it, and spray it on the Republicans. Nah, no way. No way would James Comey, no way would President Obama ever do something like that. Well, that's literally what, and I'm not saying President Obama was involved. Don't make any assumptions about who X, Y, and Z are. Those are all up to the DOJ involved. But I literally I could have told you in December 2015, which
just going to give you a little hint as to who one of those three names most likely is. And I'll give you a little bit of background here on this. I'll stop share so I can tell you face to face. In the Obama administration and in all presidential administrations, the full duty of the Secret Service, a presidential appointment for the Secret Service, is quite large. So his security detail, the president's security detail for a president, is very, very large. The only time in the history of this country that we've ever had anyone inside the president's administration that was any part of the administration, be it not even the head of Senate, not even the head of Congress, has ever had the security detail that the president. One person has in the history, and that's a woman by the name of Valerie Jarrett. She had the same size security detail as Obama had at the White House. Now, keep this in mind. She wasn't even part of the cabinet. She didn't even have an official position. She was just an advisor. Yet this person traveled by herself exclusively on Air Force One. And many times when she traveled on Air Force One, it was actually called Air Force One, even though the president wasn't on it. So keep this in mind. Air Force One is not called Air Force One until the president is actually on the plane. So the mere fact that she was on the plane and they called it Air Force One indicates that she represents all of the authority of the president. So just saying. I'm not making any assumptions. I'm just saying that that's a fact. So let's get back to this. Try to find this.
I will note is 7 months before the official start of the investigation that I had already picked up. I was already hypothesizing this is starting to seem like they're just deliberately letting this grenade develop on the Republicans. Are they just going to pull the pin on it someday?
I hear you.
I could,
Was there anything that you witnessed that, or were you ever told to stand down, to back off? Is that what you were referring to a little while ago, or was that something different?
No, in March of 2016, she asked me over to Russia to give a speech. Her goal was to get me to Moscow to give a talk at the central bank on Bitcoin and liberalism, and then to take me to a resort in the Altai Mountains that was going to be shut down for 3 days so that 40 to 45 people would get together from the oligarchs and the governments, and they're liberals, and we're going to spend 3 days talking about liberalism and also anyway, this was the offer, and she'd been sent by them to get me to come back and do this.
Yeah.
When she asked me in March to come over again, she was saying, speak in St. Petersburg on blockchain, and I think that we can change the world and eliminate poverty and stuff with blockchain. Come speak. Putin is going to be there. It's been arranged. You're going to have 60 minutes alone with Putin, and this will be great. At that point, I was told, break up with her and get her out of your life. And I worked on something else involving corruption of a federal official.
Okay.
When that was, okay.
No, go ahead. When that?
When that matter involving the corruption of a federal official was complete, it ended in an odd way that sounded fishy. It ended in an odd way that was very fishy. And again, the details are all in the Department of Justice and this, but it was involved in a.
So we can continue. I can put this link and you can listen to the rest of this interview, but I think that you've heard enough. He is, and there's another where they speak to him on Fox Business. So they speak to him, and you can watch him on Fox Business, and I'll put these links in. And all of these people ask him questions. They ask him questions, and I'll put all of these links in the chat box shortly as I continue. But it is remarkable to me. Let me just put, so I don't forget about it. I think I'm having a little bit of a tech meltdown. My machine here is doing some strange things. So sorry about that. Let me see if I can get this link for you. So this link is for the Fox News Business. You should definitely watch it. It's not the fact that what he says is necessarily bad, because you really can't draw the story of what he's trying to say. This is what makes it so confusing. This is why she's looking at him like he's nuts. But this guy, you have to put things in perspective. This guy is the CEO, the founder and CEO, something that he has worked on for probably 20 years in his mind, and he's built and put together. So he's a very successful CEO. The people within his company really, really like him. He's got a great reputation with everyone around him. He doesn't have any nefarious activity in his life. He genuinely seems like he was trying to help and thought he was doing law enforcement. Everybody that knows him likes him. So the odd part is that he is indicating that there is corruption, because he can't really separate them. When he tries to say that the FBI is good and at the same time saying that they're bad, well, that automatically puts you in a place where there is a contradiction of what you're saying. And this is what we have in our feds. Now, if anybody's paid any attention to the way that this government has been acting, fully understands right now that there is something collapsing. Both Epstein and this is creating the red pill effect. And I call it, I really call it the black pill, as Adam Green has discussed. So you're beginning to see the depth and the nature of what they are conducting. Now, I'm going to skip ahead because, like I said, we're going to cover, this might seem scattered to you, but all of these things indicate a time and a place that we're within. I can't express it to you. There is no way to untangle the enemy's web without it being confusing in discussing it. This is his protection mechanism. This is precisely how things operate. So I'm going to play. Now, I'm going to share this about what is taking place, that we have these cosmic rays raining down on us, and no one knows where they come from, right? So all of these cosmic rays, and more importantly, we have this incredible fast burst signal. So I'm going to play these radio bursts, and they play them on Russia TV. So let me try to make this a little smaller here if I can get to this. I apologize. Things are not working on this machine. It seems like it's trying to prevent me from doing anything here. So let me pull this out. So this was on RT, and I'm going to play something for you that you're going to recognize. So now we've covered the political landscape about what is taking place politically and behind the scenes. You've got Epstein and you have this guy, and things are starting to unravel intentionally and being conducted from, as he said, the very, very top. Now, what is the very, very top? The mere fact that he says the very, very top, but yet they are people from the previous administration. Well, the very top would be Donald Trump, as far as we know, right? Well, fortunately, we know that the very top of the chain isn't the president. We know the president has bosses. We know the president has owners. And we know particularly this president has an insatiable appetite for cash because, you know, that's what he does. He's the Trump. He's the Donald. He's the Don. So he's quite easily manipulated, actually, because he has so much debt. Everybody thinks that Donald Trump is rolling in cash, but the reality is we live in a debt-based system. He has far more debt than he has money. That means he has owners. And I'm certain that he has no problem recognizing who those bankers are and who his owners are, and he's going to continue to satiate them, which is why he is making Israel great again. He certainly isn't making America great again. But this guy, I believe, is more of an operative for the cabal running Trump, and Trump will sit back and he won't say anything about this guy. He won't say anything about this guy. So that should also tell you something, that Trump will tweet some stupid reporter's comments, but yet has said nothing about this man. So let me play this video here for you. And this is a part of RT, and I'm going to just only touch on a piece of it so you can watch RT's article. But then I'm going to take the audio from these fast radio bursts that we're receiving from a cosmological location somewhere, and I'm going to slow them down, and I'm going to let you hear them, and I'm going to let you see the spectrum that they are within, so you can see exactly what I'm talking about when I'm telling you that it's not an accident and that it's created. So let's play this here.
The national headquarters of RT America in our nation's capital. Hello again, everybody. I'm Rick Sanchez. During this newscast, we're going to be taking you live. Get this, are reporting strange sounds coming from outer space. I know it sounds wacky. That's what I thought as well when I heard the story for the first time. And of course, one can't help but immediately think of the famous book about this. Remember, Contact, written by none other than Carl Sagan, and then turned into a Hollywood blockbuster with Jodie Foster?
Radio source from deep space can neither be confirmed nor denied.
Whatever it is, it ain't local.
Position?
I checked interferometry somewhere in Lyra, I think.
Vega?
Can't be. It's only 26 light years away.
26 light years away. That was Hollywood, by the way. Good movie. What we're talking about now are real reports. Real reports released by acclaimed scientists, sourced by legitimate tech and scientific publications. What they say they are...
And by the way, private scientists have also confirmed this, so it's not cabal telling you about this.
Our hearing is described as weird repeating signals. The technical term for this is fast radio bursts, FRBs. Here's, by the way, what they sound like. That's a pulsar, which is what an FRB or frequent radio burst sounds like to scientists. They've been picked up before, by the way, but...
Okay, now let me close this here. And I'm going to play you this fast radio burst. Now I put this in Audacity. So let me share this and show you exactly what this looks like in the spectrum, even though they had it in a spectrum analyzer. But let me just show you here. So if you take a look at this spectrum, you'll see that it is exactly repeated. So the repeating, the repetition is what tells you that it's a consistent, and it's consistently the same exact waveform. So what I've done here is I've gone through this, and let's just play this. Now you'll hear at some point, it actually sounds like a word being spoken, right? There. So now when I take this and I want to slow down a piece of this, let's go over here. I'm going to change the pitch. Let's drop this down lower. So I can change the pitch and the speed of this. As I've changed the speed and the pitch of this, I can hear what appears to be, to me, a reception of code. Now I'm going to try to find something just to help you understand what I'm talking about here, because I think that this will make more sense. So let me just go here to your screen sharing is being paused. So let me go here and pull this up. I wasn't prepared to show you these, but I will show this to you. Okay, so many of you may remember this. You remember those sounds? Well, let's play these. Sound like a modem? Sound like somebody trying to connect with us? Let's listen to another one. These are different sounds of different speeds of modems that cover when we first started having modems. I had the very first modem ever made. So connecting at 300 baud was very, very slow. It took me about a day and a half to download a single page document. So I've been doing this a long time. So when I hear sounds like that, particularly when I was actually building and refining the modem sound to try to, in a software-based modem, to try to get more speed out of a 300 baud modem. I was trying to make advances on those sounds. And I can promise you that when I heard the sound of that, instantly it sounded to me like a connection. So I'm working on something right now that I'll try to translate if it is actually a connection. A modem is a modulation, demodulation. So that sound sounds like a modulation, demodulation sound. It sounds like it's trying to connect to us, these fast radio bursts. So who's trying to connect to us? That's definitely a man-made or man-caused or created sound. So pretty interesting, I think. So I'm going to cover some other areas, but first let me just jump in here into the chat room and see if you guys have any questions or comments about what is taking place. I'm also going to be reading some comments from some folks here in just a minute on the channel. But I wanted to also, before we get into some other things, if you're not also paying attention to these things, and this is why I said this comes from lots of different areas. So you're seeing the squeeze economically, which is taking place. Our financial systems are in deep trouble. They're lowering interest rates. There are countries selling bonds at negative rates, which means that you actually pay them to buy a bond from them rather than them paying you interest. Imagine if you went to a bank and you said, hey, I'm going to deposit $1,000, and the bank said, okay, we'll take your $1,000, but we're going to charge you $200 to take it. And then when you withdraw it, you'll get $800. That is a terrifying proposition when countries like Germany and pretty soon the US are actually issuing bonds at a negative rate, which means they're not paying you to buy them. You're paying them. Now, I don't know whether you know what that means, but that means that there is no other bet on earth. That's what they're projecting to you. That there is no other safe haven for all of your wealth except a governmental body. Because as crazy as that sounds, the wealthy of the world and companies and countries are actually buying these bonds at negative rates. When you buy a bond at a negative rate, it says, I'm going to lose everything, and I'm going to bet my hopes that you'll survive and give me something of what I've got back when all goes to hell in a handbasket. That's essentially what this means. They are telegraphing to the very powerful in the world about what is coming. They are letting you know that shit is going to hit the fan, and in a big way. And people by buying these bonds, are letting you know that they believe it to be the case. Follow the money, the ones that control the world, the ones that control all of these things. Now, from a weather standpoint, we have lots happening. Don't worry about man-caused global warming. Is it global warming? Yes, it's warming and it's cooling. It's going through a massive phase. With this, that we have massive amounts and very quickly melting ice in the Arctic and in the Antarctic. If all of that ice melts in short order, it will, and I have seen this already in a vision, it will alter the composition of the salt system within the ocean. Everything within the ocean, at least the vast majority of it, will die as a result of that. The ocean would become like blood. Everything, all of the living creatures in the ocean would die. Now imagine taking everything in the ocean and killing it all at one time. What would the ocean look like? What would that water do to the rest of the water supply of the world? What would that water do from the evaporation standpoint as far as plagues and sickness go? This is a very real situation that very well could happen and most likely will. It's recorded in the scriptures that it will. So when I talk about these things, and I'm covering lots of different areas, that's because we are being crunched from the outside in every single way. Socially, the government is preparing for you. They are going to determine who gets to live and who doesn't, or who gets preferential treatment and who doesn't. Social credit scores coming to China, Silicon Valley's doing. A social credit score is essentially, right now, I would probably have a social credit score of 5. In other words, I should just be killed and completely ignored because I say things that make people upset, or I say the truth. So we are coming upon a time that emphasizes what we've always spoken about here on this channel, and that is preparing yourself eternally, internally, who you are, recognizing that you have been utilized within this entire system, manipulated, turned into a slave. You've helped them build the system. You've helped vote for it. You've given them the support. It's not your fault. We've all been duped, period. We've all been lied to. There isn't one person out there that hasn't been lied to. Even the person at the top has been lied to. Even Satan has been lied to, at least the way that he sees it. So that's why I'm covering these areas. I'm also covering these areas as far as what truther channels are going through, or people speaking to you. The mere fact that anybody looks at this situation as competition, or I'm competing with some other truther channel. This isn't competition. We, myself and Melia and everybody else involved, anybody that helps, we all understand what is going on. I'm not begging anybody for anything. I'm trying to make it through what we need to do so I can continue to talk to you and to give you the things that I'm told to show. Now, that doesn't mean that I'm always going to be correct or that I know all things that are taking place, because I can tell you that when I look at somebody like Adam Green, he has a very specific job and he's very good at what he does. Stephen Yana, they're very good at what they do. They have a very specific job. There is an awakening taking place with Stephen Yana. They're starting to learn new things every single day, and they're going to come more into the truth of what I've been speaking about here. Adam Green knows exactly his position, and I promise you that the likes of Adam Green and Global Witness and all of these channels is limited. So I am also going to be taking Global Witness channel to BitChute, also onto Patreon, so we can actually get some support from you guys, because I can promise you right now that with everything that's going on in our world here, the family emergencies and all of the things taking place, we need support more than ever right now. So it is very difficult. Everything is still, we've got in fact, as we speak right now, where Melia is, as we speak, is she is sending out the batch of USB drives, the first or the second large batch of USB drives. So those are going out. Many of you will be receiving those over the next couple of days. None of these things, not the conference, none of these things make us money. None of those things. We need to hold the conference because getting together face to face and hearing people's hearts and being able to speak face to face, this camaraderie is going to be how it's going to be in the future. That face to face, one on one, the street game is going to take place because we're not going to be able to talk about these things here. Everything is being cleansed, and that is so that you're not aware of any of the cleansing that is going on. I've often said that with the amount of people that are on Facebook and on social media, that you could kill half of them, and that the systems themselves, AI, could continue to post on their behalf with similar things that they have, or that matching their personality, and no one would ever know that they've died because nobody talks to each other anymore. They text, they post on social media, they don't see each other anymore. Very rarely, unless you have a job and you have to be there. So it is, all of these things are coming together. So what I was talking about is, first of all, just to show you that I'm not full of it when talking about the negative bonds. Here's the article that you can get, Economic Twilight Zone, bonds that charge for lending. So I'm going to put this in the, I just posted that also, so you can read that news article. I'm also going to post the original interview on Fox News with Patrick Byrne. So that's also in the chat room. So go ahead and read that article so you can confirm exactly what is going on. You can't make this stuff up. And this is precisely why I said I've got to cover a bunch of areas. I've got some notes here on the whiteboard, and I would like to try to. Now, unfortunately, and I will apologize, I would love to be able to be here with you every single day. Anytime that something comes up that I read or I see, or something is revealed to me in Scripture. Things have been so convoluted, and every single time we go to do something, we're hit with something new that we have to tend to. And ultimately, it has to do with us being able to continue to eat and to take care of ourselves. And that's why I say that we've never needed your support more than right now, because we're not going to be able to continue to do anything and prepare for what we need to prepare for if we can't be more supported. So we can do it on our own, but that means that I can't do this very much. So it's a balancing act for me, and I apologize. I really want to be here every single day. It's just right now it's impossible, and it is incredibly strenuous. I have to say that Melia is a tower of strength. She is remarkable. She's much stronger than she realizes, and she keeps me straight, and I love her for that. And you know, I try to always be a support mechanism for her. But we've got a lot of things going on both sides of our families, and a lot of things taking place. You know, right down even to the puppy dying. I mean, anything that could actually go wrong has been put in front of us and get smashed. So, and we don't broadcast it here, but we help a lot of people. We do get on the phone and have conversations and counsel people one-on-one all the time. We talk to people that, you know, call us with suicidal thoughts, and they're going to kill themselves and go, unless I hear some good news, I'm going to kill myself. So we're always doing something where we can financially. We help. Much of what is given to us, when it seems like that it's more important for somebody else to have, we'll give it to them. We don't broadcast it here. We're not telling and broadcasting. Many people that are probably right here in this chat room have received assistance from us. So we're always trying to do what we can for everybody else. And I just apologize that we can't do more. I wish we could. So I wanted to mention the collapse of this country, and the reason why this is in the title is because it is taking place, as I said, and you can begin to watch this. I have to be able to say, hey, check this out. Look over here and pay attention to this. So pay attention to what's taking place from the social standpoint. Pay attention to what's taking place from a government standpoint. What are they broadcasting? What are they telegraphing? What is going on? What are they not speaking about? Why are they not having more conversations about who these people are? Why has the madam for Epstein not been arrested? Why has there not been another arrest? Everything is in front of your face. They are flaunting their power and flaunting their abilities to lie to you and to alter anything at any time. They're flaunting this in front of your face. And currently, right now, they're paying attention to your reactions. And if there is no outrage, they'll just get bigger. And the fact of the matter is the vast majority of the country is asleep. They are drones at best. I say that when I had done that video in the past that said that there is a psychosis going on, what we recognize, I do believe that people are far more ill than they know. They're in deep, deep spiritual trouble. And it's important that we focus on the ones that are closest to us, the ones that can be saved. I look at this as triage now. We are getting that close to some major upheavals, some major things coming. This is triage. We speak to and we address the people that we can. As far as other people that we can't, I'm not here to have arguments. There is no time to debate anymore. When I said time is short 2 years ago, that's because this takes a long time to come to terms with and to understand. I'm not saying these things for fear mongering. I'm saying these things so you can recognize it and you go inside yourself and you create peace. You pay attention to those things. The reason why is because when you've been shown them and then you see them take place, it reinforces the spiritual status that you've already begun to put within yourself, that spiritual level that you begin to build on. Now, I've had many conversations. In fact, I was chatting today with Rex Bear. So Rex and I are going to get together on some things because he's been discovering some new things that are taking place. Rex, has his own little thing. He's not quite as serious as I am. But at the same time, I appreciate Rex and I appreciate his tireless work. The guy works really, really hard at this. So I appreciate him. Now, I'll go to some, if you have questions, probably right now is the best time to put them in the chat box. And as I said, after this, Melia and I are going to be recording Red Letter Disciples, and we will upload that today. And that's going to be on Isaiah 61. So please look for that. And if you haven't gone to the Red Letter Disciples channel and subscribe, please do. Let's see if you have questions in the chat room. Anybody, anyone? Oh, first, before I get to those questions. Apologize, one sec, my mic went out. I wanted to read to you some comments. Let me go to these, see if I can bring this up. And this is where somebody says something, comments, I just feel that it's beautiful to see. And so I wanted to share this. Let me see if I can get this comment up. So this is a comment by Joseph Cherwinski. And he said, "My testament to your truth. How can a former soldier, a former suicide attempting, anger manifested individual, buried in depression and self-loathing, become at peace and work towards something better after Derek's videos? In every turn in this world, I've been told that's not my place. In every way possible that I've tried to go to church and find a way, I got bullied into communion after services. I hold Derek as a man, as we all should, but I also state from the mountains, the streets, and the gutters, his message brought me to the Father and Yeshua. I no longer have PTSD, depression, nor a single suicidal thought, and he did that without even knowing me. Through the works, the fruits, I went through months without seeing his videos to come back and watch them and hit every question I had or situation I experienced. So much love to you and all." Now, Joseph, I really appreciate that comment for the reason that, first of all, as I've always said, is that my fruits are Christ. They're not mine. They're just a manifestation of what is inside me that comes out. So anything that I speak about is intended to be spoken to you. It's not attributed to me. I will never take credit for any of those things. I'll take credit for the stupidity that I do. I'll take credit for the dumb things that I say, or I misunderstand something. But I will never take credit for something as beautiful as what you wrote. But I truly appreciate you, these sentiments. They're beautiful. Now, I wanted to get to another comment here. Let me share this. Apologize, this is getting a little weird trying to share these. So Susie Cherry, this was a question on the Epstein video. My question to you, Global Witness, is of great concern to me. Since from birth in this country and many others, through the system designed to enslave us, the birth certificate, through trickery, Do those entities own our souls too? It's a great question. They own us. If so, do you have a solution figured out to reclaim ownership? I've tried to figure out if I should go down the UCC road as a possible fix, just looking for an opinion. UCC, she's talking about sovereign citizenship. Also, thank you for your timely broadcast. I believe it is time to come out to my born-again Christian family members with asking them to spend an hour with me listening to this broadcast to start the conversations that need started. They repeatedly asked what I spend my time on, who I meet, etc. I love them and they love me. I don't want to lose them, but it is time for them to know that I don't believe that they have it all right. Wish me luck and thanks again. So my response, Susie, beautiful comment and greatly appreciate the genuine heart you obviously have. The most basic answer I can give about ownership of your soul is that your soul is only captive when you believe the lie that has been told. In the ever slightest of ways, they have altered the truth to gain control over your mind, which animates the spirit, which in turn feeds the soul. This is why what we consume in the material world has a deep, profound impact on our spiritual as well. We will consume the memes of the organized church and state with a lust for all things worldly if we do not understand that the food we eat has an impact on the spirit and soul. However, the things we consume visually, audibly, and politically in association with money, our soul is simply thrown to the swine to be consumed. This is also the main purpose for Christ's message and why it sounds so different from the organized church. This is the understanding of Christ that those that run the world have spent every dime they have on making damn sure very few know about the narrow gate of Christ is you. Pick up your cross and do as he did. Not a little like him, but transfigure yourself. You will quickly learn that Yeshua or Jesus is and was just like you. So I hope that that comment helps folks out. The reason why I wanted to read that comment in my response is because I get the same question on email hundreds of times. So I wanted to read the question and then read my response here so you could all see it, assuming that not everybody got to see that comment within the video. But this is the critical part. You are the most powerful person that you know. There is no one more powerful than you. That power cannot be corrupted. That power, if it is corrupted, begins working for somebody else. But it isn't corrupted. It's just as powerful, except you're working on behalf of the enemy. So when I talk about that, understanding that power comes to you in humility. That is Christ. It doesn't come to you in overpowering or overbearing or trying to force truths on somebody else. If they hear you, let your peace come unto them. If they don't hear you, let your peace return to you and get out. Stop wasting time. If they don't hear you, don't talk to them. Because as I said in that what we hear and even the debate, even the conversation is intended to cause harm to you. Don't participate. Don't argue. Keep what you have. Maintain your peace. Let no one take your crown. So let me get to your questions here. April Michelle says, we all want to be free from the beast system. Unfortunately, unless you're prepared to go out and move into the woods and live off the land entirely, then you're going to have to participate to some degree in the beast system. But think of it as and this is where I try to instruct everybody from a spiritual standpoint. It is your job that you are a clandestine agent on behalf of Christ at this stage. That you don't necessarily want to reveal yourself. There are people that it's their job to reveal themselves. Yours truly. I don't mind. I'm prepared to take the heat. I've already done it. I'm prepared to be beat. I'm prepared to be killed. I'm prepared to do whatever is necessary and whatever I have to endure in order to continue to accomplish what I've been asked to accomplish. No, I have not been asked by the CIA. No, I do not work for the FBI. No, I am not a Mason. No, I am not a Luciferian. I am none of those. I do not subscribe to a religion. I don't believe in any man-made organization that assembles power or assembles money or makes rules for their congregation. I don't buy into any specific denomination of any church. I would say that there are many religions that are simply denominations of Satanism. They don't even recognize it. I mean, if you think about this, that Christianity is simply a denomination of Judaism. Islam is a denomination of Judaism. So in these denominations, they are corrupted. This is why Christ's words had to be so clear and why they've tried desperately to make sure that you didn't understand any of them. So yes, I must lose my life to gain it. So I wanted to just make sure that I emphasize that here today. And I'm going to continue to also in preparation, let me just say this so I don't forget. In preparation, we still do have some spaces for the conference. I have created another link that's in the description box for the conference. If you want to reserve your seat, I think we've got 20 more seats available out of the 100. And that's primarily because people were trying to sign up for the conference and couldn't. So the conference link is there. It says interested in joining the conference. You can click there. Supporting us, the link is there. If you want a USB, the order USB link is still there. Those are I'm finally able to start getting them going here. I've rigged up a system that it makes it easier for me to duplicate more than just a few at a time. So I really, really appreciate all of you and all of your support. I cannot wait to see and to meet with all of you. We're going to have some one-on-one time with every single person there. That's why I wanted to limit it to the amount of people that we could actually pay attention, that we could have one-on-one fellowship. I also want to be able to make myself available privately for individuals that want to discuss anything that they don't want to discuss amongst the group that is private. I will always respect that and respect the privacy and confidentiality of our conversations. So with that said, I'll see if you guys have any questions here right now. I'll try to answer some of them. If you don't, when is the conference? Yes, good question. Thank you for bringing that up. Currently, we wanted to have it in the first week in October. The reason why I'm having a difficult time right now is securing the specific dates at the beginning. It may end up being at the end of October because the locations that are available that we can afford, that we can also have rooms that would be manageable for people with the cost of hotel rooms and things like that. It's probably going to end up being later in October. So I want to be able to give you specific dates as soon as possible so you can make arrangements to get here and you could schedule this thing. So I am highly focused on that right now. And aside from everything else going on, that has not left my plate. Let me see what else. Thor Anonymous says, we are created in God's image, the vessel spirit, the mind, the Trinity exists and coexist within and all around pure energy frequency. That is how our reality exists. Yes, I can agree with a lot of that. God Osiris. Yes, in your mind says Egyptian Trinity, gods Osiris, Isis, and Horus. You know, I wanted to read, I want to read you a comment. Let me try to get to one of my last videos. This is more for, I wouldn't call it, sorry, I don't want to call it entertainment value, but it's value nonetheless, because when I tell you that I receive a lot of crazy comments and a lot of crazy emails, sorry, I keep popping these things up. I want to try to find this comment that somebody wrote on one of the videos and read it to you. I left it up, if I can find it here. I get some crazy, crazy comments. I wish I could find this here. I didn't prepare to play this for you, but well, it was on the, it looks like it might have gone away. It was on the, if you, any of you, you can go look. It was a comment where a person's claiming that they're Lucifer and, you know, they're coming to attack me. So it was quite interesting. And that was on the Joseph Lumpkin video from last week. So go ahead and take a look at that. It's just interesting. I get all sorts of threats and crazy things. You know, many people think we are crazy, and some people, and somebody can come to me and say that they believe that they're David, and I don't think that they're crazy. But when somebody comes to me and they say that they're Lucifer and they're Jesus and they're Satan and there's somebody else all at the same time, and they're coming to attack and kill me, it's just quite comical. But at the same time, I have to take those things seriously because people like Diamond have been attacked. So that's why our location is private. So let me take a look at your comments and see if there's anything else. I'm sorry, I know that, hold on, Janet said, what did Jesus Christ tell us to do? Pick up our cross and follow me and deny self daily. Yes, pick up your cross. If Christ's cross was good enough, why did he have you pick up your own? Always a good question. See if we got anything else here. Yes, Catherine Woolley, Christ was called crazy by his own family. He was. They said, for he's lost his mind. Eric Martinez, is there Trinity? Sure. The three, if you haven't seen it, the three crosses and the definition of that, a video that I have. Watch that video and you're going to understand what the Trinity is. There's you, there's the Spirit in you, and there's the Father. So the Spirit in you, Father, Son, Holy Spirit, that's where that takes place. It's all you, but it's all one because the Father and the Spirit are also within you. So the Trinity is quite interesting. Wake that Trinity up. Let me see. So way, word, love, word, way. Isn't it our goal to keep our internal house clean enough for the Father to enter? Well, see, not necessarily. If the Father in Christ is already within you, think about it like we are strangling him. Think about if you took a marble and you wrapped it in duct tape. And so you have a softball size ball, and inside is the marble all the way down there. You've got to peel all that tape to get down to that marble. It is isolated intentionally. The world has isolated it. The world has completely covered it. This flesh itself is designed to prevent you from knowing it. The understanding of how this flesh functions, which is why Christ was explaining to you to die to this flesh. The urges of this body prevent you from understanding what is within you. Lyra Bellaquia says, email me, please, Derek. I don't know your email, and you can email me. I'm sorry. 666 equals this flesh. Yes and no, Joe 5D. 666 is the number of man. So you would assume that it means this. But currently, there are different stages to this. Currently, 666 represents who you are. And in this world, who you are is what you're worth. And in the flesh, what you're worth is how much money you're worth. That's why it says, in God we trust on the dollar. How many of those things do you have in your pocket? How many of those do you have in your bank? How much value of this false world do you own? That's the number of a man. You're only as important as how much money you have in this world. You can have the stupidest person. You can have the craziest person in the world. He can have $10 billion in the bank, and people will think he's smart because they think, well, he couldn't have had $10 billion unless he was smart. So we judge people based on how much money they have. That's why people walk right by a person sleeping on the street, think that they're worthless. Stop, sit down, have a conversation with that person, and I promise you that person will tell you some profound truths that will resonate far louder than anything you've ever heard from anyone with a large bank account. I wanted to say thank you for everybody and thank you for your support. Again, make sure that you go to the, subscribe to Red Letter Disciples. Melia and I will upload that video tonight. It's on Isaiah 61. We're also going to be getting back into the book of John. I love you all very much and wanted to give you this update, and hopefully I'll be back live tomorrow.